Hey nerds, it's Ashley, and I slurp noodles. And over to my right, Sierra.
Hello.
And she slurps slugs on the sidewalk.
Ew.
Alliteration. Over to my right, my mom, aka her own person, Kim.
Hi.
And she slurps Slurpees on 7-Eleven Day.
Amen.
Thank you. And over to my left, it's Dylan.
Hello.
And he slurps slimy, sickly soda pops.
Oh my.
And now you're listening to That's Not Good. Ugh. But we
why
have to
sickly?
I don't know why slimy.
I mean, slimy, fine. Sickly.
Slimy soda is fine with you?
Well, sickly.
Soda pop.
Literally, ew. That's so gross. Hi, you might be wondering to yourself, where is Dylan? And why is my mom here? That's a great question.
Well, good thing.
Dylan has replaced.
No, I cannot replace Dylan. For sure.
It's too much to live up to because he knows the computer stuff, and my mom literally
And
could
is
know
funny.
us. Well, you're funny. You're a funny lady.
We'll see.
Your mom says you're the funniest one out of all the ones, so that's kind of good.
I also don't trust my mother, so there's that.
You're wondering, and I'm going to tell you, Dylan is producing loudly.
Hello.
And so he'll be with us in godly spirit, but he will not be with us in
Camera
humans. Camera stuff. So, hi, Mom.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
We've talked so much about you.
Every episode, I'm pretty sure.
Almost every.
Needs to mention.
You've made our shirts. You've made our lives. You're our only Patreon supporter.
I'm very happy to do so.
Thank you. You've helped us make bookmarks that we've never gotten to send out to people. Oh, that's a great opportunity. Let me talk about it. You might be wondering, could you get a fun little cute bookmark for free? Let me tell you. You sign up, boop, 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 Patreon, $1, even if you could a month, that'd be super awesome. And I would probably have a
Heart attack.
and a poop attack,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
a cow attack, and
For
probably
sure, for
every
sure.
attack. So that'd be super awesome. We'll send you a fun little thing, and for the first one ever, we're gonna send you an actual shirt.
Oh, for sure.
So we'll make you a special shirt like you saw in our 50th episode. We would give you a fun, cute. We make it so good for you. Okay.
Get swagged out. With
Send me
The
an email
exclusive.
and I'll send him a bookmark.
Send us an email. Send us an email. Okay.
Oh boy.
No, but for real, that's not goodpod@gmail.com. And I said the email correct. Thank you so much. Cracked my neck too on that little one. A little bit.
That's how much you meant.
Yeah, that's how much I felt that. Wow. So, Mom,
Yeah.
is there anything you want to talk about?
So I had a little plan that I was gonna, talk about how proud I am of you guys, which I am. I'm super proud of everything you're doing.
You're
But
so cute.
on the way over here, I drove past a place called Blackout Dining.
And we said, what's that?
I did say that, and so I looked it up. You were eating a 5-course meal.
Vegan.
It didn't actually say that.
I know, but it is. I know for 100% fact it's vegan.
But what if just the options are vegan?
No, it is a
well,
vegan menu.
Fine. Vegan menu in complete darkness. Why?
You walk in, someone leads you to the tables here. I swear to God. The only reason I know this is because Emma has been to this restaurant before and she told me all about it. She had so much fun. Her dad came into town and they went together. And you go, they lead you to the thing. They give you night goggle vision glasses to read the menu, and then it's gone. No more vision after that. And then you, listen, okay, but you say your thing, but let me tell you my thing really quick. I cannot eat in the dark.
No!
My mouth disappears.
Yeah.
And to the point where if it's slightly dim, I'm like, Jordan, we need to turn lights on or I can't eat.
Right.
I can see everything, but the lights have to be on. Like it is day and I'm eating now. Other than that, I can't find my mouth. And that's very serious. So,
In the
sorry.
daylight. I guess.
No, absolutely. And here's the thing is I want it so bright that it's like shining off of my food.
Yes.
Right?
I want
need
it to be reflected in my corneas.
I can't see what I'm eating. Also, you're gonna bring me something. I don't
that's what I'm
get
saying.
to
You have to
see
go
Yeah,
like
and it's
this.
a pre-done menu, so you don't even get to choose. They're going to send you an appetizer, a soup, an entree, and a dessert, and apparently all vegan, and you don't get to
wouldn't
know
know.
anything.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Not
sorry.
happening.
That does not sound fun to me.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to ask Emma when she comes on, but I think she said it was like okay.
And probably expensive because
It was
it's
very expensive.
some
An
chef
experience.
menu. And
It's like $100 per person to go in there and
That's
do that.
insane.
I think
Just
it's
turn
expensive
off
to go
the
to the
lights.
ice place too. The ice bar where
I've been there.
where you're in the parka and the stuff. That's expensive.
It is. And here's the thing. Vodka is vodka. I don't care if you're drinking it out of a little ice cup or you're sitting in your living room. It
Well,
tastes
it needs
the
to
same.
be cold no matter what happens.
Definitely.
True. But here's the thing. If I'm going to spend $100 on food, I'm going
Crab.
to, or even the Brazilian steakhouse place where I can eat my weight in,
They're just coming by with the meats.
yeah, a ton of meat and those
Cheese
little
spreads.
Yes.
Poached
No,
cage.
the lamb
Poached
chops. Have you had those? Oh.
Have you been to Texas de Brazil? Mm-hmm. Oh,
They
shit.
are
I can
literally-
eat the salad bar by itself only.
yeah,
'cause
they
the
got
salad
sure.
bar fucks
All
it
kinds of
up.
stuff.
Yeah,
All
for
kinds
sure.
of stuff.
So we love food.
Yeah. Well,
This is partially a food podcast.
Moral of the story:
Yeah.
it is partially a food podcast.
We've done it a
Thank
couple
you.
times.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. It is.
It pairs really well with murder. So
food.
It
yes.
does. Okay, well, thank you for sharing. I love that.
You're welcome.
Sarah, is there anything you want to talk about?
no.
Okay. Thanks. Dylan, is there anything you want to talk about?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Oh,
I
wait.
thought so. Oh.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Yesterday was Diamond's birthday.
Yes.
Yes.
We
Happy
had a
birthday,
fun
Diamond. We
time.
love
Happy birthday.
you. She's an age that was progressed by a year. And that is very exciting. She was sitting at the, I'm sorry to take your thing.
No, go.
We were sitting at dinner last night, and someone asked Efren. We all know who he is. Efren asked, Diamond, what do you want to accomplish? I literally love her so much. He's like, what do you want to accomplish for the next year? What are your goals? She's like, great, I'm so glad you asked. Pulls out a notepad. And says, for my next birthday. We're like, what are you even
she
saying?
thinking
Today
Yes.
is your birthday.
Today is your birthday. She's like, 1 year from now, I'd like to have an actual blowout where we go to a venue. I'm talking like wedding style.
For 30.
We're gonna have
Dress
a whole
code.
There's a dress code. There's a present code. I'm making that as part of the committee. We have a committee now for
Yeah.
Diamond's birthday.
Several committees. There's a performance.
There's a performance where we get her out and there's feathers. It's a whole
A whole thing.
show. It's a whole show.
A whole
Well,
show.
Diamond show. And
I'm
so,
down for a diamond show.
Yeah.
So that's her goal for the next year is to have a party for next
It only took us a year to plan for her wedding show.
See?
That's true.
So,
That's true. So we're super excited about that. We're going to be
She
putting on a
has a
payment
venue
plan.
picked out.
She's
like,
venues picked out. She's like, I already know which
I
ones
have one I
payment
like.
plans.
Yeah. There's one you can, and catering and
And we're like, yeah, we'll pitch in, not a problem.
I guess I'm making invites.
Yeah.
You're probably on the committee.
You
just-
have
yeah.
to be on a committee for sure.
Okay.
Wow, that's so exciting. What do I want to talk about? Thanks for asking. Nothing other than this has sent me down a rabbit hole. This here Zodiac.
Oh, yeah?
What about Disneyland?
Oh
Oh,
my God. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, this is a good story. Thank you for reminding me. This is what I wanted to talk about. So my mom and I had tickets to go to Disneyland as a fun little gals trip, if you will. And my sister was going to be there too, but she was going to be studying, so she basically wasn't there. But it was raining, so yucky and horrible.
Not
in
just
Southern
raining,
California.
like
Storming. And
torrential.
it was really cold too, like
Yeah.
for real cold. So we bought our little rain jackets and we bought our socks, but then it's at 100% chance of rain basically all day, which it turns out it wasn't like that, but that's what the forecast said. So we said, you know what, better just to scrap it and we'll save the ticket for another time. So that's great. So the next day we went to downtown Disney. And when we went to downtown Disney, I realized as I was walking in, I could see that there was security. So I was like, oh shit, I didn't put my items away in my purse, meaning both of my vape pens. One is weed and one is a little bit of nicotine. And normally, I don't want to say that on camera. I was gonna say normally I hide it really well. Disney's gonna find this because I've said Disney so many times.
Mickey
I
Mouse
never
is
hide
coming.
it. I never hide it. But this time I realized I'm like, oh shit. So I was like, Mom, we gotta scoot over to the side, really non-conspicuously, obviously. And I'm like shoving stuff around. I put it in my little
garbage
secret
can.
wallet. Yeah. And then we go through, and as we've checked through, everything's good. They look through my purse, all kosher. I get through the thing. And this woman comes up to me. I'm assigning gender, so I apologize. That might not be their gender. This person comes up to me, but it made it more intimidating because they were female presenting, and flashes a badge at me. I'm like, this is the end. I'm going to get banned for Disney for my entire life. I'm never going to get to go in again, and I'm a Disney adult, so this is actually devastating. And also, this situation is so intense because the power that she's exuding is also making me insanely nervous.
Well,
Yes.
but to be fair, she was like
so kind about it.
5'2".
It doesn't matter.
Okay, but you gotta have to present some
Sure, she has to
authority,
add up.
yeah.
right, because she's this little teeny person who the raincoat she had on was bigger than she was. So all you see is her tiny little face
And
like
her
this,
badge, she like flashes
and the
out.
big
Hey. It's like, whoa. She's like, can I talk to you for a second? I'm like, oh my God, yes. I'll do anything you say because I'm so scared. So she pulls us aside. Are you shitting your pants?
well,
You're
I'm
fine.
a little nervous, but here's what I'm thinking. I'm like, bye.
It's all you.
I didn't do anything wrong.
It's like,
So
I'm
anyways.
good. I know I didn't bring anything.
My
so-
status at Disney is on the line right
Mickey
now, and I'm
Mouse is
panicking.
good on me.
And when I had scurried everything into my purse, in my wallet area, I had shoved the most important thing down first, the weed pen, and then I put the nicotine pen on top. Thank fucking God, because she's like, can I see what you put into your purse like that? And I was like, oop, sure. I was like, yeah, I'm like so scared. It's like, yeah, it's just nicotine. I didn't want to throw it away because it's expensive. So I popped out just the nicotine pen, and I showed her, and she's like, okay, well, just next time you better ask instead of doing that, because we will let you in with that as long as you don't smoke it here. I'm like, I won't smoke it here. I will never smoke it here. I swear to God.
She was 3 seconds from saying, I'll never smoke again.
I was going to pass out. I was so scared. And she was like, okay, you can go in. I was like, oh, my God. So I'm safe. I can still go to Disneyland, but it was really scary.
But it
And
took
at
3
Disneyland,
stores
too,
for
yeah.
her to calm down. I was like, okay, Ash, it's okay. They're not
That's
following
not
you.
jumping, yeah.
We had to link arms because I was panicking. So I'm like, are you okay? Or is your heart racing? Because I still feel a little crazy. So I don't do well with authority. And I try to fight against the authority. And then when I'm fronted with the authority, I immediately succumb to it.
Moral of the story, leave your pens in the car.
Sure. Don't be a sketch ball is the moral of the
There you
story.
go, there
Yeah,
you go.
just hide it before you go. Okay. Let's talk about this Zodiac situation. I have to tell you something that's really going to blow everyone's mind. This book is a lie. It's fraudulent. Okay? Is that crazy to hear or what?
And who wrote this book?
Freaking Robert Graysmith. Mm-hmm. So I have some issues, Robert Graysmith. You made it sound like you knew what was up, and you actually don't. And it also makes sense why I stopped, like my brain couldn't comprehend anymore because it wasn't supposed to make sense to me. He basically, what he did was fit the real crimes into the narrative of who he wanted to decide to say who it was. What? Am I English anymore? Okay. Let me tell you. We had some pickleback shots. So I'm 2 shots of whiskey in and a couple sips of wine. And it's showing. And it feels scary.
And here we go.
Oh, boy.
So God doesn't laugh when the children are playing. He only cries. Thank you. That's what rain is. God's tears. Robert Graysmith said that a lot of things, but one of the most egregious things he said was that remember Cecilia? She was on the peninsula on the water area
By the tree.
and was tied up. Yes, by the tree. He said that she was stabbed 24 times. She was only stabbed 10. Does it make a huge difference? No, but to sensationalize something like that, who knows what
For
he's
no
adding
reason.
in?
Right.
Who knows what he's adding in? Because 10 is bad enough.
It's still a lot.
A
That's
lot
still
of
plenty.
stabs.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
one
not like
stab
10
is
is
a lot.
a number that's,
24.
Yeah. So that was one thing. Let me read you the other thing that was really interesting. Oh, preface. Let me give you the resources that I was getting all this information from. First and foremost, I was getting most of everything from ZodiacKiller.com, which is written by Tom Voigt. I know last names. And he seems very credible to what is going on. Seems like the real expert here. Although the information is, he's funny, is what I'll say. He's a funny guy. He just seems like he's really, he's in a fandom of his own, right? So he's just extra.
It's a 50-year-old crime, so.
It is, yeah. That's true.
That's how you know someone's seeking out
the real truths.
Yeah.
Yes. Second to that was ZodiacKillerFacts.com. I got a lot of information from them, and I apologize. I don't know who the author of that is, but they were working with each other. Like, Tom seems like the expert, and then the ZodiacKillerFacts.com seems like they were appreciating what Tom was saying and kind of putting their own. I got information from them, and I'll point that out when that happens. And then I got information from allthat'sinteresting.com. I got a couple of articles from there, not a bunch, but a little bit as supplemental information. So the idea of this episode is we're going to go through what, and then who.
Okay.
And then maybe we'll find out who the Zodiac killer is at the end, because I think I know who it is. So that's exciting.
That is exciting.
It's not Robert Graysmith.
It sounds like a fake name.
It does.
I just want to say.
It does. He looks like a fake person.
Well, maybe that's why he was able to put fake stuff in there, because it's a pseudonym that nobody knows that he's a fat liar.
Everybody knows who he is. He was Mom, don't you remember?
Oh, that's right. He was a writer.
Cartoonist. You're so close. He was the political cartoonist for the San Francisco Chronicle when the first letter came in, which is a whole situation. Okay.
Maybe that's why he's not still doing
that. Is that Tobey Maguire's
Jake
character?
Gyllenhaal.
Or yeah. Wrong.
They're the same
White
person.
actor.
They are the same person. Tell me that Tobey Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal are not the same. They're identical. So I think it's correct what you said.
Well, one of them was
Eric
Spider-Man
Foreman
and one wasn't.
From that 70s show. What's his name? Topher Grace. He's also in that group of the same guy.
Sierra?
Same role, same guy.
First of all, I cannot believe you're saying this, because on one of my absolute favorite podcasts of all time is called Wine and Crime, and it's 3 gals from Minnesota. They've been best friends for like ever, since 5th grade or 4th grade or something like that. They all know each other very well. They confuse all 3 of those exact actors, and they did it. They compiled all the times that they've confused these actors into an hour-long episode called "The Gals Misremember."
I have to watch that. Or listen.
You have to, because they are the same person. It's just slightly different variations of the exact same genetics. I bet they're twins somehow. Okay, so Graysmith, what's he talking about? Craziness. One of the other things he said was that Darlene Farron, or he made it sound like Darlene Farron, who was this second set of situation. We thought that she was being stalked and followed by this guy.
Paul or something.
Paul, which is there's another pseudonym for him, George, I think, at some point. But she was being stalked, and that Mike Magoo, who was the guy that had a bunch of clothes on and ran. Magoo. Tell me it's not.
You said it fancy.
Like because it's
not Mike Magoo. But it's Mike Magoo. You said Mike
Magoo with a whole bunch of clothes.
Because it's spelled Mageeau. That's fancy for Magoo. Okay.
It's fair.
So Magoo. What was I saying? Oh, that they were not being chased. From all the police reports and his eyewitnesses, they were not being chased or herded towards the crime scene. They were most likely, and I haven't seen the actual reports, but I think they were on like a date situation, like actually in a Lover's Lane area.
So wait, so he went on a date in multiple pairs of pants?
Which makes sense why he was because his reasoning to the police is that he felt body uncomfortable, like body shamed himself, that he was too skinny, so he bulked up by putting a bunch of clothes on. So if he's going to what he thinks is a date or like a hookup situation,
he doesn't know how you hook up?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's just kissing and heavy petting.
Okay.
Maybe he can't afford to go all the way.
to take his clothes off.
Because I'm assuming that's what the case is, but I don't know anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so that wasn't the case. There was no evidence that they were being chased to this location, which is completely what he was saying was happening. He literally called it herding. So, I don't know. At the end of this book, though, one of the chapters is fully dedicated to who he thinks it is. And he uses a pseudonym in here. This is not him. The last name
Some
is Starr.
pedophile, right?
Yes, I'm going to tell you about him right now. We talked a little bit about Arthur Allen Graycross.
Yeah.
Was that his name? Hold on, let me go back up. Arthur Lee Allen, so it's super wrong. Arthur Lee Allen is like the main suspect in this book, and he names him Robert Bob Hall Starr.
Because those are
And why does he
definitely
name-
the same.
I don't know.
Why?
That's his pseudonym for the guy. But obviously, they've picked apart this book, right? And they've picked apart the case. And so they're going to find out who they think it is. Because this guy comes up in police reports. They do interview him. And a whole slew of situations happen. How do we get to Arthur Lee Allen is my question. I'm going to answer that for us right now.
Okay.
So we didn't talk about this case because in the last episode, I really wanted to make it oh my Lord. I really wanted to make it strictly about what the police are saying are for sure confirmed Zodiac
Kills.
murders. And then the confirmed writings. That's what I wanted to focus on. Not the random, like, there was like a little, there's a picture of it in here too. There's like a little skull guy in a Halloween situation. See this? They don't think this is Zodiac. So there's like a million things that are like Zodiac wannabes or attention-seeking behavior people that are not even just copycats, but people that want to be in the newspaper, right? Because they were posting Zodiac letters for so long. Excuse me. That's the ramen I ate earlier. They had been doing this for so long that they really thought, that they would get famous from doing this.
Right.
So that one's not real, and there's a lot that they have actually deemed yes for real Zodiac letters, and no, these are forged letters, which is interesting how they're determining that because they're basing most of this off of handwriting samples.
Right.
So the experts are saying all of the A's look the same. And also when I was doing some more of this additional research, finding out that this book is complete garbage, which makes sense in hindsight. Now that I know the information, I'm like, oh, of course it is another white man disappointing us.
Such is life.
Such is life. One of the things he does bring up in the book is Sherry Jo Bates. So this is a case that they have not fully said is Zodiac, but kind of has been pinned to it in a general sense. So this is an unsolved case of Sherry Jo Bates on October 30th, 1966, which is a little over 2 years before the first murder, which would have been December of 68, was the first double homicide that we're looking at. She's 18 years old, Sherry Jo is, and she's in her freshman year of college. So she's living with her dad at the time, and she writes him a note on the refrigerator saying, hey, I'm just going to run over to the library to do what she's got to do, whatever it is. He was taking a nap at the time, so he didn't see it till much later, until it was after dark. She is reported to have been going or getting into or near the library around 6 p.m. There's an eyewitness that saw her particular car, her VW Bug, driving around 6:10. It was one of her friends had seen her, so she was like, oh, she must be going to school for the library or whatever, and had noted that in her mind. And then there were a couple of witnesses who saw her going into the library. So between 10:15 and 10:45, which is a pretty huge chunk of time, there is a report of someone near the library or parking lot area heard an insane scream, like a neighbor that lived near that area. She heard like a really crazy scream. I don't know if she reported it or not, but it's in this as an audio witness. But there are no witnesses seeing her leave the library or get back to her car. But we know that she got back to her car in some capacity because the 2 books that she checked out from the library are sitting in the front seat. So we know that she arrived in some manner, right? Or, he attacked her in some fashion and put the books there, but we're assuming that she got to the car. Mm-hmm. Once they inspect the car, because she's, not at the car, they're inspecting it, and it has been, like, fucked with. So the distributor coil.
Okay.
Ever heard of her?
Yeah.
I know exactly where that is.
And the condenser had been pulled completely out of the car. And then one of the connecting wires to somewhere doing something was not there anymore either. So like her car had been fucked with in some way, but we don't know how. And they end up finding her body unfortunately. So she was murdered. She had been stabbed twice. She had been kicked in the head. And her voice box was severed from how severely, like, her neck had been cut.
Ooh.
Yeah, both jugs on both sides were also completely severed. So about 10 feet away from her body was a Timex watch, a broken watch. You know those?
Timex,
Makes so much more sense. Because the clock is time. It has nothing to do with Tim. Just like things don't have anything to do with Kevin.
Generation of not watch-wearing people.
No. I mean, Apple Watch, but I don't even wear one of those, right? Everybody has one of those. So this case was in 66, right? Okay, so then they received, about 5 months later, they received a letter, and it was typed. This guy says, wait, I need 68. This guy says that it was handwritten, but it was typed in a typewriter. I think he also says the second letter was typed, but I don't know. We don't trust anything he says, but we know this is what it says, so I'm going to read it. She was young and beautiful, but now she is battered and dead. She is not the first, and she will not be the last. I lay awake nights thinking about my next victim. Maybe she will be the beautiful blonde that babysits near the little store and walks down the dark alley each evening about 7. Or maybe she will be the shapely blue-eyed brunette that said no when I asked her for a date in high school. But incel motherfucker. Small cut off her female... Oh, that was wrong. Let me start that sentence over. That was me. But I shall cut off her female parts and deposit them for the whole city to see. So don't make it easy for me. Keep your sisters, daughters, and wives off the streets and alleys. Miss Bates was stupid, talking about the victim.
Wow.
She went to the slaughter like a lamb. She did not put up a struggle, but I did. It was a ball. I first pulled the middle wire from the distributor. Then I waited for her in the library and followed her out. After about 2 minutes, the battery must have been about dead by then. I then offered to help. She was then very willing to talk with me. I told her that my car was down the street and that I would give her a lift home. When we were away from the library walking, I said it was about time. She asked me about time for what? I said it was about time for you to die. I grabbed her around the neck with my hands over her mouth and my other hand with a small knife at her throat. She went very willingly. Okay, I'm not reading the rest because it's gross. I mean, the whole thing was gross, but wasn't good to listen to, was it?
No.
Real bad.
Sounds like after all that. Wow.
So according to the police, they have made a statement saying that this was not connected to the Zodiac. There must have been a handwritten piece somewhere that they then matched. But this here letter was typewritten. So now we're thinking, okay, why are we thinking Arthur Lee Allen? His typewriter was matched to the same type of typewriter that wrote this note. So
Except
people
back
are
then
using...
there was only typewriters, so...
And I'm sure a million people had the same exact typewriter.
Yeah. Exactly.
But this is the only thread of evidence that is connecting him. So what this motherfucker did, Gray Smith, he decided to pin this entire thing on this guy based off of secondary, like, garbage information from unreliable witnesses. So let me go into a little bit about what is Arthur's deal. There was some handwriting analysis that looked at handwriting samples that were both willingly given, knowing Arthur was like, okay, I understand what this is going to, and then some that they had just gotten from him that he had no idea were going to be analyzed. Because you want to get a sample of. You might change a little bit if you know that your shit is about to be.
Yeah.
You're like,
for sure.
Like really tight and good. You know what I'm saying? So they got 2 different types of handwriting samples, and they did not match the Zodiac samples, okay? The other thing I was saying earlier is that the experts, right, how expert are you at handwriting? Because whatever, we said this last week. But the experts in this case are saying that the handwriting that came in from the Zodiac was the natural handwriting. Like, they weren't trying to mask it. Because the other thing they say about Arthur Lee Allen is that he was ambidextrous. So they're like, oh, you must be using your other hand to write the letters. They got samples written in both hands.
And he's not it.
He's literally not it. The Zodiac stopped writing letters in March of 1971, so that's just a good thing to keep in mind. Like, his for sure matched letters stopped in 71. There was some ones that trickled out in 74, but by that time, the person that had been like consistently saying these are forgeries, these match, these are forgeries. He had retired by that point. So I don't think anyone felt like super comfortable going in there and being like, whatever these letters from 74 are, match or don't match. They're kind of like in a limbo. We're not sure. Yeah, it's weird, right? All right. How did Arthur even get brought up to the police, right? To have them see if the handwriting does whatever, right? How is he even getting into the light of the police's line? Don Cheney, who sounds like Dick Cheney to me, used to live with Arthur's brother, Ron. So Ron and Don lived together. Fuck off. In college, so that's how they met. Don and Arthur met and became kind of buddies. They hunted and did whatever bro stuff they did. Don Cheney accused Arthur of trying to molest his daughter.
Oh.
Because Arthur Allen is a pedophile, like convicted. He has gone to prison for being super awful. And so when that happened, that was between 67 and 68 that situation happened. Don doesn't really know the exact time. And during that time, Don was speaking to a mutual friend they had, and that mutual friend is what brought the attention to the police. They were like, this guy must be the Zodiac killer.
Because
he's
being
a
a
pedophile.
child, being a pedophile is the same thing as,
At some
Being
point,
a
they
weird
also
cryptic
slicing
murderer,
slicing throats from side to side.
I know. They also
Okay.
said at one point they were all at a hunting gathering, this mutual friend and Don and I'm sure Ron and Arthur, they were all at this, and more mutual friends were there, and Arthur is suspected of saying something like, wouldn't it be super fun if we just killed everybody / I could kill couples. I think that sounds fun. But come on, let's be honest.
Or
We
they're
have no
all
idea if that's true.
drinking and,
He's just a fucking crazy
Yeah.
banana pants anyways. So when he had been suspected in general during that time because of this information, but then they really did go into his past and try to find evidence against him. Sure. And when he was finally arrested for actual, not actual, but
crimes.
he really was molesting people. That wasn't just an accusation anymore. He went to prison and they did a search. They couldn't find anything that connected him other than he had the same typewriter as the typewriter used in the Sherry Joe Bates case, which isn't even linked to the Zodiac. Even if he did murder her,
that's not
a Zodiac case.
So, but my question is, no more Zodiac kills after he went to prison?
No, but that was already conveniently happening because it had stopped prior to him ever going to prison, because this only lasted for a year.
Okay.
68 to 69.
Okay.
So it had been stopped before, and then he went to prison, but yes, it didn't happen anymore after that, so people also use that as a way to be like,
right.
But it had already stopped before he went to prison, so that doesn't make any sense either.
Right.
His handwriting, his fingerprints, his DNA, and his palm prints do not match anything from any of the crimes. Not him.
And they were using that palm a lot.
They were using
that
the
was a
palm.
big thing.
Yeah, but nothing. It does not match him. He is not it. Okay. But that's also why they hate Graysmith, right? Is because he really tried to pin it on this guy. And at first he kind of was like, oh, haha, I am it, because he had a Zodiac watch. Have you ever heard of that brand? The Zodiac watch was given to him as a gift for Christmas. It had literally nothing to do with this. It was a horrible coincidence that he had this special watch that his mother gave him. But the Zodiac company that made these watches used that Zodiac symbol, which is the circle with the line and cross in it. That's a Zodiac symbol that gets used in astrology. It's been used in history for thousands of years, but it's been co-opted by this particular company with this watch, the brand and whatever.
Right. That's
coincidental.
Where he got the actual Zodiac got, obviously.
It's a historical symbol, yes, but it's not coming from the watches.
The symbol meaning Zodiac? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Really?
It literally means astrologically Zodiac as the name of it. Yeah.
Okay.
I know, I thought that was really interesting when I read that today as well. Okay, cool. What am I talking about? Where am I at? So after this, also, okay, this is a random thing that made me really feel like this couldn't be the guy. 1964 to 1965, around that area, Alan had a severely lacerated leg from a motorcycle accident. So he's injured. I know no one was walking fast or running fast, but I feel like someone would know, like...
Well, did you say there were like footprints to one
yeah,
of those?
Would it affect his gait or something like that?
Some kind of a
divot or
little
less
bit.
pressure or whatever, because no one ever said any, like, it didn't impede him in any way, but it's just a weird thing to add in as a fact if it didn't actually, like, affect his life. It sounded like it must have caused some kind of damage to him if it's in here.
He's not, getting up and murdering people, you know? Like,
He's not running
you're
around.
in recovery,
Yeah.
You're kind of taking it easy, is what you're saying. I'm not going to do that. Wakeboarding.
No wakeboarding, for sure. That's
killing
off
couples
bucket
at Lover's Lane, you
That
know.
thing,
I'm
yeah.
going to hold off this week, but
Shooting a bunch of people.
yeah.
This is shitty. This is like a shitty piece that is. People think it's him. In July of 1992, Mike Magoo picked Alan out of a lineup as the guy. But unfortunately, we just know witnesses are not good, and he was literally shot in the head and face. So
And
traumatic.
how many years is that?
92 from 68, 9?
Oh,
From
yeah.
69? Yeah. And everybody at this point had already been saying the movie Zodiac was already out. Graysmith had already been pounding into everyone's fucking head. And to everyone's surprise, Graysmith has been the expert on Zodiac. Like, he sold an insane amount of copies of this book, and I bought it. So he said, that's him. That's the man who shot me. But, I mean, any man could look like any man in the dark with in a traumatic situation. You know what I'm saying?
Add all of those years later.
I know. Okay. How are you doing, God? Okay.
We could take a break.
God says break? Okay. One more thing and then we'll take a break. Okay, this last thing really, really, really quick. So I found a book last week when I was getting all the books for everybody for the 50th episode. I found a book about the Zodiac killer. And I was like, well, this is crazy. How did I find this at a used bookstore last minute like this? And it was this guy. His name is Gary Stewart. He wrote a book, The Dangerous Animal of Them All. And it was about him trying to he didn't know his he didn't know his father his whole life, so he decided to go out and find this person. He had like a ghostwriter helping him write, not a ghostwriter because her name's on it. They wrote this book together, and it was about his papa, Earl Van Best Jr. And yes, admittedly, shitty guy, like not a good papa, kind of one of the more sucky ones. He's not the Zodiac. I hate to break it to you, but this guy is convinced. Gary Stewart, he really
that
for real
his dad is the Zodiac killer.
And the dad's been dead for a long, long time. So there's no way for him to like,
Yay or
say,
nay it.
Sure. So he's just super convinced, wrote this whole book about how convincing it is. And like the most like concrete evidence of this is that he had a scar on his thumb, and one of the Zodiac thumbprints had like a little bit of a scar, but he had to invert the image to make them match the scars together. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
So the police refused to even look into this because they just for sure know it's not this guy's dad.
Right.
And they get this so often. I don't know if you remember this, but in the Black Dahlia murder, there was a gentleman who, his dad was dead already. Same situation. He was a doctor named, we'll talk about him a little bit later, maybe. No, I'm just going to talk about him right now. His name was George Hodel. And his son Steve Hodel decided in his heart that his dad had killed the Black Dahlia, which is Elizabeth Short. Who it was her torso cut up, no blood, sad days. He's not. He wasn't. But his son really thought it was because there was a photo that kind of, sort of, maybe looked like Elizabeth Short. So he's like, oh, my dad killed her. Immediately, it's him. And he also suspected him of doing like illegal abortions and things like that underground. So that's kind of fit into the narrative of what people had always said about Elizabeth Short, which that she was going to get an abortion and they accidentally killed her, so then they cut her up and left her in the thing, which doesn't make any fucking sense. Because if you make a mistake like that, then you don't want people to find your torso and you hide the torso. But that torso was meant to be found in the public by people. So it wasn't someone who was doing accidental abortions. It was someone who, in my opinion, was just a murderer. That's it. That's all I have to say. Okay. It's not Gary Stewart. It's not George Best Jr. Best had nothing to do with it. And Hodel's papa, shitty guy, for sure. Are they bad to their sons? 100%. Are they doing crazy illegal things? I bet. But are they the Zodiac and or Black Dahlia murderer? I really don't think they are.
Not this time.
I really don't think they are. So we're going to take a break, which is good because I have to pee. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some actual viable suspects to the Zodiac murder. So come back, please. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, you nerds, we're back from our little break, which was great. And now we're here. We did another shot, so.
Which may or may not have been a mistake.
It's a good mistake. Sometimes we have to make good mistakes, and then sometimes we have to make bad mistakes.
Fair.
And this was a good mistake, so that's good.
We lost someone.
Oh, Sierra, if you can tell, is no longer with us. In spirit. She's not dead. She's alive. She is silently producing, aka talking producing.
Here I am.
Sierra. That's super cool. But we need to obviously fill the seat.
Yeah,
We can't just be here. I mean, we could literally just be here us because we sit and I call you every single day and tell you all my problems. And
I have a big mouth, so I could fill at the time.
Truth. But we're going to have Dylan!
Woo!
AKA
Hello.
God. So the real God, aka Sierra, silent producer, talking producer, is going to be here with us, and then Dylan is here with us now, which is great because I've been so excited to talk to you about Zodiac. Because out of all of the people in our lives, we know Zodiac the best.
I think we do.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
I think so too, right? So I'm glad we're here to discuss the rest of our suspects.
Do you have a suspect?
Yeah.
I was
the
telling you
fake one.
outside, the only guy I can think of is Arthur Lee Allen. But as I was listening to you say, it's not him.
It's not
It's
him.
clearly not him.
Okay.
One quick thing about the DNA, since we're here talking about it, and we've all had questions about the DNA situation. Did he lick the stamps? Did he not lick the stamps? Did he lick the envelope? Did he not lick the envelope? On ZodiacKiller.com, aka Tom Voigt, he is now my personal expert on this matter. Whether he's right or not, we're not sure. We are sure he's correct. Tom says that in December of 2021, they had run DNA. They got a full DNA profile from one of the stamps, or multiple stamps, I'm not sure. Guess what? Not viable. Whoever it is could not possibly be the Zodiac killer. So we were looking at this earlier.
The
Ramen.
DNA was viable,
Yes.
but the suspect that is attached to the DNA
Could not be
could
him.
not be the killer.
And
Definitely not Arthur Lee Allen. Is that
definitely
what you're
not
saying?
Arthur. Definitely not Arthur Lee Allen. But they have Arthur's DNA because of him being in prison, right? They were able to get that without getting a warrant for his information. They also got his DNA when he passed, so he did die.
And his palm print and stuff, they would have had that from when they
All
booked
of that
him.
would
Sure.
have been.
And that didn't match.
Did not. He also put a caveat saying he can't tell us any more information other than it's not him. It could have been an unknowing an unknowing accomplice or a partner or somebody associated with it. But then my mom brought up a really good point. What did you say?
That it
ramen.
was probably a woman. The DNA probably belonged to a woman, and we know for sure, based on the witnesses, that the killer is a guy. So if
Well-
the DNA, or presenting as a man.
Thank you. I love
but
you
the-
so much.
But the DNA is showing up with, X and Y.
Yes.
So,
That's a good, I like that theory right off the bat.
which
that-
means,
Right?
it could have been the neighbor he was stealing stamps from,
Well,
or
think of how many times you've heard that the DNA was thrown out because that sample clearly came from a woman or something like that.
right.
Yeah. Or the Zodiac is a woman, like what's his fucking name has always said. Who is the guy who says the Zodiac is a woman? He makes the shows, and I think he's the guy that makes High School Musical, but he's not High School Musical. Kenny Ortega.
Kenny Ortega? The guy that directed Hocus Pocus and Michael Jackson's Is This It?
This is why I love you, because I don't know the answer to any of those questions.
Not the High School Musical guy, the other guy that I think he is. That does.
Zac Efron. Corbin Blue.
Literally no. He's the other director that
They
does
weren't even thoughts.
that does the scary show. Why can't I think of anything ever? It's so
Oh,
fucking
the guy from
frustrating.
Glee?
Oh.
The guy that directs Glee? You know who I'm talking
Okay.
about, the baldy guy.
Cut to where's my camera? Let me explain what just happened. This has happened before, and it's very simple. Glee and High School Musical
Are the same.
permanently, that synapses is eroded in Ashley's brain.
True.
Glee and say it again,
High School Musical are the same.
My brain wants to say American Horror Story instead of High School Musical.
Because
And it should, because that's the same
it
guy.
is. Okay, so
Same guy.
I can't even remember what you
Sierra,
just
what's
said.
his name? Brad?
No.
Literally.
From what?
The American Horror Story
American
guy.
Horror Story guy.
Ryan Murphy.
Ryan
Thank you.
Murphy.
Okay, Ryan Murphy did a thing in American Horror Story where he simulated like the Zodiac killing thing, but he said it was a woman, right?
I don't remember that.
Isn't it in Cult? Okay, we don't have to talk about this right now. It's
I don't
so
remember
irrelevant.
the Zodiac coming up in American Horror Story.
Okay, maybe I'm making.
You were
know
talking
what? I'm
about
not
the
maybe,
Black
it
Dahlia
is.
earlier. That happens. They have crazy doctor Black Dahlia guy.
I know, but okay,
But it
whatever.
doesn't matter because all of the witnesses, all the people that survived have said it was a man.
Yes.
I mean,
True.
unless they're,
Again,
you know,
presenting, we don't know.
right.
But
Also,
Super.
wouldn't it be wild if the most famous
it was a
serial
woman.
killer ever was a woman?
I would want.
Breaking
I
all
want that
of
very,
the-
that
very
would totally
badly.
be wild.
Yeah.
That would
Because there's
be-
not a ton of them.
Let's go into what we got going on here. Okay, I'm not going to go over the suspects that we know for sure are not it, because I'm over talking about those guys. We know they're not it. These are the people that we think might be, could be, maybe it. Okay? Richard Marshall. Let's talk about him. In the mid-1960s, Marshall lived in Riverside, California. So if you don't know anything about California, whenever I say words, they probably are touching. Like, Vallejo, California is near...
It's all southern.
Contra Costa, which is near Riverside, which is, they're all, like, very close.
If you're not from America, you would just say San Francisco.
Literally. But, well, that's
That
north.
would cover
We're
the whole
talking,
area.
Yeah,
That's
that's true.
north.
That's true. North is where we're talking, and that would cover everything. You're right. I'm all backwards right now. San Francisco is up, and then LA is down. So if you don't, now you know. Those are two different areas. So he lived in the San Francisco Bay Area during that time. Obviously, we know whoever it is probably somewhere in that general vicinity, right? Because they're sending all those letters and doing blah, blah, blah. Some other things that point to maybe this could be the person. During those crimes between 1968 and 69, Marshall worked at a movie theater. So there was in some of these writings, there was a specific movie/play maybe called like Mercatus or something. Everyone's screaming right now because they're so mad at me. It's very famous. Excuse me. You can't give me a high...
That's why they're screaming.
For sure.
You can't give me a high noon ramen and not expect a burp or two to come out. Or
That's
5.
fair. That's fair.
And she drinks some more.
So there was references in some of these confirmed Zodiac letters that there was like some arts or things in it. So he worked at this movie theater for those areas that time called the Avenue. So he was in the vicinity. He was interested in the arts. He turned 45 the day that the Los Angeles Times newspaper received another Zodiac letter. So it was his birthday, and 45 was like a number that was like really intense in the Zodiac letters. And that was on March 13, 1971. He was the reason, so now you're wondering, how was he even put on cops' radar? He was a ham radio operator. Do you know what that is? Why they exist? Ham radio is literally numbers, right? Being said.
This is
No,
before
no,
my
no.
time, so I don't know.
Ham radio is home amateur radio. It's an
Well,
acronym.
M doesn't start with radio.
No. That's right. It sounded like I
Ham
was.
and home. That's the same
It
letter.
sounded like I was saying the acronym. That's not what the acronym stands for.
Oh.
It is an acronym, but they're amateur home radio people that play around on the unlicensed.
So what is the
CB
what
is
is the
a form
Sarah?
of
Do you
that,
know this?
basically.
Okay.
What is the radio that goes 1, 1, 2?
Those are number
1,
stations.
7, 9, 5, and then people think it's code /alien /
Those are called number stations. Those
that's not ham radio.
It's kind of related because ham radio people are some of the only people that would like care or pick that stuff up. Like unless you're playing around in these frequencies and paying attention, you're not gonna, because it's not like a radio station that you can tune to in your car. That's what she's describing. Number stations were thought to be, it's like...
It's still happening today. Number one, you can go listen to these numbers being said.
Transmissions that everyone can hear.
Yes. They think it is code for other countries to like do something. Like it's an unbreakable code.
If you have a spy in America,
you can send them a message over this specific radio and say like 9942. They just say numbers the entire time.
So they know the code and know how to decipher whatever the rhythm is.
It's so scary because they also have special music. So like one of them sounds like the Ice Cream Man song playing in between the time of them saying numbers. It's out of context or without knowing.
Might be if you listen to the station you're supposed to listen to at 9 a.m. every morning and that song isn't playing, then activate
you know
your
something
protocol.
bad is happening.
Get out of there,
okay.
et cetera, et cetera.
Go kill the sleeper agent, whatever the instructions are.
It's kind of related to ham radio. Ham radio is just people at home doing it, you know, of their own volition.
So anyways, Marshall was the ham radio guy. Who knows? He was saying stuff on the radio. He had also been saying some stuff that made it sound like he was the Zodiac. And at this time, I'm assuming any person that just wanted to be like a little scary or like have some notoriety, yeah, exactly, just be a little famous, they would probably say some weird stuff because who knows?
Although prison is at the end of this story, so I don't know why you would brag about things.
If they can pin you to it, obviously there isn't prison behind it because they can't figure out who the fuck it is.
Well, no, true.
It's like it paints the picture of this devious person where they're pranksters in that kind of way. They do the they're like in the shadows.
They're today's internet trolls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a little more involved. I almost have respect for the pranksters of, you know,
of ham radio days. Great.
They did go to Radio Shack.
Sounds like a sure Inzel to me. Anyways, so Tom wrote about this guy and basically said a couple of things, like he had a special warehouse during the time that had an apartment in it, so it kind of made him like central / in and out. No one would know where he was because he had this huge warehouse that he was renting out. So he had written this on the website, right? This is the only time that this has happened that Tom knows of. But Marshall himself, Richard Marshall, emailed Tom Voight, and I'm going to read you the email.
But wait a minute. Now, we did not have email in 1961.
Sure.
71, whatever.
This was way, way after.
We're talking 96 or something.
I was going to say 95, 96.
Yeah, definitely after. He didn't say a date.
Dial-up.
That again
oh my
paints
God.
a picture.
You can't answer a phone call while the email comes
This
in.
is an early website in the... Oh, see.
Every time.
Oops.
Conspiracy.
An early website dedicated to only the Zodiac Killer in, like we're saying, the mid to late 90s. Very early internet. Like, that's already a creepy vibe.
So creepy.
You have to have a very vested interest to... You're not making any money from something like that. To just be the online...
In fact, he's lost money.
Plus,
How does he have a house?
Is my question.
This is the email. Subject: silly man, 2 exclamation points.
Whoa.
Coming from Ricky Ticky.
That's his...
Ricky Tikki Tavi?
Excuse me again.
Right?
Yeah, but it's just Ricky Tick. One word.
Rick Marshall, he goes by Ricky Tikki.
But this is from Richard Marshall. Ricky, okay.
Yeah.
I guess, if he wants to be fun about it. Too bad he didn't sign his Zodiac.
I mean, again, we're mid-90s email addresses.
True. This is the email. Okay, verbatim. How can you waste time and energy on this dead horse? Your information regarding me is 5th or 6th hand. For instance, I never lived in a warehouse in Marin. I leased an industrial property at 36A Front Street, in which included a 4-room, fully equipped apartment. If I find any further fucking, this word earlier was fucking me up. Squirrelious? Fuck you, word. Debasing dope handed out from this source. Squirrelious.
Skrillious?
Spell it for him.
SCURRI. Lous.
Scurrilous.
Scurrilous, but it looks like squirrelius. Scurrilous,
Which basically is
debasing dope handed out from this source.
nonsense.
Be prepared to defend a personal damage suit by a first-rate attorney, SGD Richard R. Marshall.
So he's going to sue him
For saying
stuff that's not correct.
which is, he did not live in a warehouse, he lived in an industrial property.
Oh no,
But
I
clearly
leased
is-
it. I did not own it.
Oh, that too, yes, of course.
Right off the bat, some of the language in that is kind of interesting.
Zodiac-y,
Why are
right?
you wasting your time on this dead horse? That's a weird, broken. Not beating a dead horse. He said wasting your time on this dead horse. That reminds me of
How
some
do you
of the
even
verbiage.
remember things that I say?
and
That's insane to
six
me.
and saying that it's six people in, you're not even getting a
Fifth or sixth hand.
yeah, you're not even
Yeah.
getting a percentage of the information correct.
Interesting little broken malapropisms and stuff. That's very Zodiac of him.
He does. Tom says he's not going to count the misspellings against this guy. His grammar doesn't mean he's a Zodiac, because this guy's probably pretty old by this point, so it could be just an elder
Because
situation.
they're thinking the Zodiac
Sure.
was an idiot because of his misspellings.
He spelt a lot of things incorrectly.
versus doing that intentionally
Right.
to throw people off.
Exactly.
Okay.
He said, aside from that, let's just focus on what would the Zodiac do in the situation. Zodiac always commented on the police, and I didn't read a lot of his letters because they're absolutely garbage, and I don't want to give him that fame. If you care about what the Zodiac was fucking saying, then you can go look it up yourself. But a lot of it was like, oh, you didn't get this exact perfect thing correct, so now I'm writing you about it. So that's happening here in this situation, right? He said the wrong words.
It's an ego thing.
It's an ego thing. They can't
Huge
let it
ego.
go.
Definitely.
And he brought up the attorney thing, which is something that the Zodiac used to do. Like, oh, my attorney will do blah, 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 whatever. Or I'll bring up this legal situation, which he has no stand to feet on. So it's kind of like a mirroring situation there.
Well, sending someone a letter at all.
And a personal email when you're old as fuck.
All this time has gone by,
And
right?
he's still targeting
He
people.
can't
and
stop
saying-
himself. Another thing, I didn't tell you guys this earlier. This is so crazy. Earlier, I was on my little research bend about this whole situation, right? And how Robert Graysmith was so wrong. One of the things, oh my God, I just forgot.
You're too
What
young
was
to
I
have
just
that
talking about?
problem.
One of the things Graysmith got
No,
wrong.
but what was I literally talking about before that?
Before we were talking about how Rick Marshall is
Email.
still sending letters to
All
you,
these years later,
that the verbiage sounded
There's
very
literally no way to
Zodiac.
know.
it's all
wow.
gone.
Okay,
Just went out.
I'm dying to talk about the movie because the movie touches on some of these things, touches on Rick Marshall a little bit. There's a great Rick Marshall
Wait,
scene.
which movie?
The Zodiac,
Zodiac.
movie.
Oh. But not, what was the one you were saying before? With Clint Eastwood.
Oh, Dirty Harry.
That's
Dirty
not-
Harry was different than the Zodiac, which is an actual movie that came out
Dirty
because of this book.
Dirty Harry has
Because of
like
this one.
an aspect of it is based on Zodiac.
But it's a
'cause
fictionalized
the bad guy,
characterization
the
of
bad
him.
guy in the movie is the Scorpio killer or something.
Oh, I
So they
see.
just use
Okay.
that
And
for
he
a little
mirrors
bit.
some of
Okay.
the activities too. He mirrors some of the things that the Zodiac is like known for in
I
Dirty
gotcha.
Harry, but it's a fictionalized
And
version of him.
that's like from then. That's
Yeah.
like a product of its time. So it's like a reactionary. You can feel how it's kind of.
Politicized.
We don't.
almost,
They
yeah.
don't have all the information that we have now
Sure.
about the Zodiac. But it's kind of funny that shows up in the movie Zodiac.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't talk enough about that frickin' movie. There's so many little things it touches on.
I want to watch it now. We don't even have to make a full episode about it, but we should just watch it.
Do you feel like that it gives some like insight as to who may or may not have done it? Or do you think that they're just kind of
He said it's
generalizing
leaning
all the
towards Alan.
information?
It's
Again,
leaning towards Arthur.
It's a movie version of that
The
book.
book.
So
Oh,
all
well,
of the
that's why.
things wrong with the book, Graysmith's
They're gonna be wrong with that
perspective, it shows up there. But
Sure.
I was telling her outside, it kind of has a surprisingly not that complimentary version of Graysmith. Jake Gyllenhaal as Robert Graysmith is like, for a movie that's like, where he was on the creative team, like helping make the movie, and it's based on his book, you'd think it would paint him as more of a hero or more of a
knowledgeable man.
cool guy.
Unless
And-
he is the Zodiac, and then he wants to paint him in an unassuming fucking
His
way.
character in the movie, he's so flighty and like, I was telling you, kind of paints him as like neurodivergent in some way. Maybe there's certain traits that you might be like picking up on.
Yeah.
A fantastic movie though. Like,
Well, I want to watch it.
one of the best crime movies, maybe.
Do
One of
they
the best
show the
detective
Zodiac's
movies.
face, or is that the version where they don't show his face ever?
It's kind of fun. I think in the recreations of the actual crimes, I think they have a separate actor entirely.
Oh, wow.
None of the suspects. Like you,
Interesting.
You kind of get a garbled look at his face, like you might in real life, and it's probably not any of the actors they have playing the suspects.
Interesting. All right. Well, there's no way to know if it's Richard Marshall because they'll have to get a DNA thing from him. But so we don't know if it's him or not.
And he's still alive?
He is, I think.
Oh, he's got to be 120.
I would
by
say,
now.
unless he was like 18 when he was busy killing all these people, it's been 50 years.
I know.
So
My
probably not.
granny's still alive, and she was born in 28.
Well, yes, that's true. And, you know,
Barring a medical
never
marvel.
know. CIA, she could be. We don't know.
An actual sleeper agent.
The
I
female
wish.
Zodiac killer.
If my granny was the female Zodiac, I would shit my pants.
Wouldn't that just be...
That'd be great for us again.
Again.
Like what you said last episode.
Yep.
It'd be great for us if the Zodiac would come forward.
Just admit it and come on.
All right, let's talk about Lawrence Kane because there's literally no evidence other than he's just a person that they can assign some information to. He was born April 29th, 1924. What'd I fucking say? He could still... No, he did, I think. He did.
I mean, 24, you're talking 100.
That's 100 next year.
We're in a different
I mean,
life.
he's 99 and probably doesn't have a lot of
No, he
recollection
did.
of killing
He did.
people.
No, Lawrence is dead. But Larry Kane. He actually was Lawrence Klein when he was born in New York. So the reason he was ever a part of this is because Pam Huckabee, the sister to Darlene, who has, again, was framed as being like stalked and harassed and like
Which we figured out is
is
false.
completely not correct, but based off of police reports and eyewitness statements. But Pam has always kind of been very active in speaking up against what's going on and really set forth the narrative of what happened to her sister, Darlene. But in this case, she identified Lawrence Kane as the person that had been stalking her sister, which again, could or could not be true, not sure. It's possible that she had a stalker outside of the Zodiac killer. Like, multiple bad things can happen to a person, and we just would never, literally, we'll never know. So even if he is or not, doesn't really matter. His shit is not, like, I feel like it would have matched it if it was him, right?
But Magoo was there and survived. So how come
Mike.
Magoo hasn't taken a
Mike
gander at
said
this
it was
guy?
Alan, but that's after years and years and
Right.
years of hearing the narrative that
Alan
Alan
did it.
is the person that did it. So I don't really
You're gonna
know
love the
any of
movie
that.
so much.
Okay, I'm so excited.
So many little bits that you're mentioning show up in the movie.
Lauren-
Like him doing that identification, and it's years later. It's not
Really?
It's literally the last scene in the movie before it
That's
goes to
Wild.
text.
So Lawrence actually suffered massive brain injury in 1962, and I don't know if you know anything about serial killers.
They all get conked in the head.
So many conks. Like
Really?
most of
Yeah.
them have brain injuries.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Swings hitting them in the head, all kinds of crazy conks.
I've
Literally.
never heard that.
Yeah.
Are you trying to say that maybe someone in your family is a serial killer?
I mean, I'm not saying it.
I didn't have a swing conk.
You have fallen off at so many things.
And yet your
I was
head-
talking about how you threw a brick over your swing set and literally hit your sister in the
I
fucking
did hit
head.
my sister in the head with a brick, but you fell off the bed and conked your head. I had to take you to the emergency room for a hole in your head.
Anyways, we're both serial killers.
Just saying.
Wow, Sierra and I both have matching scars from a
Conk in the
head
head.
trauma. Conk
There
in
you
the head.
go.
Are we all serial killers right now?
I have not conked. Oh, well, no. Not as a child.
You would never know.
I conked my head as an adult,
Oh no.
but not as a child.
All right.
That's much worse.
I feel like it
think.
is.
Yeah, but I feel like I got a little bit of time before I catch up to the whole serial killer thing, right? I got to have a little leeway there.
According to this, we don't know how true this is, but Lawrence
Felt like
Kane.
blood.
Oh,
Sorry.
not the blood. A psychologist in 1965 said that Kane's injuries resulted in losing the ability to control self-gratification. So they're just kind of putting anybody who probably maybe did something somewhere into this situation. I don't think it's him. Can we move on?
That sounds, yeah, what he just described sounds like Subway masturbator, not
Right.
serial killer.
Yeah, like he throws Swiss cheese on his penis and says, "Hey, look at this lady," and then he starts jerking off.
Exactly.
That's a real person.
I thought
Why
that
the
was just,
Swiss cheese?
It's like a trick. It's like, look at the cheese, and then he flings it on his thing and starts masturbating. Multiple people wrote into My Favorite Murder as like a real firsthand account of this man, Swiss cheese masturbator, like assaulting people.
In what city do I have to ask? It's New York.
There's literally no way for me to know because this is an old hometown from many moons ago. They've been doing the podcast for more than 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're
really
they are the talk about gods. They are the gods,
They
the
are
original
gods.
of true crime podcasting.
Yes, I would say that's true.
Everyone listens to Karen and Georgia. We love them. We don't even have to talk about them. Please put us on your network. Gaming. Richard Gaikowski.
Oh, wow. Are we sure?
No.
Are you sure?
Well,
Gaikowski?
it's like G-Y...
You're not correct. It's
Yeah.
Gaikowski.
K-I.
Thank you.
Gaikowski.
Gaikowski, because he goes by Gaik. G-A-I-K. Gaik.
Okay.
Okay. This is important. So he was born in South Dakota. Questionable.
Already red flags and alarms going off.
In March 14th, 1936. So he'd been 30s-ish, right? When 69 was happening. How old is we don't know. This is okay. Before I get into some of the reasons why we think this person is the Zodiac killer, let's talk about how he was even introduced to the police. Blaine. Two first names. Blaine.
Blame, like B-L-A-M-E?
Yep. AKA Purple Blaine. AKA Gold Catcher. AKA...
There's a whole new movie.
No.
AKA Zacharias.
What? What are you saying right now? This
don't
is
know?
not.
These are his aliases or
not
given names?
identifiers.
These are his
for him.
aliases, what he goes by in the street.
Blaine?
Blaine, Purple Blaine, Gold Catcher, Zacharias.
What's his given name?
Blaine.
There's no way to know. We don't know.
Blaine. Okay.
He's a person that's unhoused and is living in their van, and they are now a police informant by whatever means that is. We're not sure.
Okay.
But they say that they had been working on an underground newspaper at the same time that Richard Gaikowski, thank you, you're welcome, was working. And they had known this person when they were working at the Good Times. So the Good Times newspaper is like a communist, but like super not communist, leftist, pro-violence kind of
Underground type of situation.
opposite of white supremacist agenda in the fact that they wanted to take down capitalism more so than they wanted anything else, and they were ready
Not
to kill
the New
people
York
for it.
Times.
No, the Good Times, if you will. So they had been working there at the same time, and when they were working there, Blaine was super convinced. I can't even say it. Blaine, aka Gold Catcher, was really convinced that Richard was the Zodiac. And I'm not gonna lie. Oh, don't do that. Immediately, don't do that. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's him.
Well, you saw the picture, and then you put it next
Dylan,
to the
Look at this. I'm gonna show this, and we'll
sketch.
post this on Instagram so that you can see.
I'll make her because she won't remember.
I will remember. Just kidding. Thanks, Mom. This is the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my life. Sorry, I'm getting it together so you can really see these two together. So Richard Gaikowski is on the left, and the Zodiac sketch is on the right.
They kind of look similar, right?
The
only
glasses
thing-
right off the bat, yes.
And the mouth.
The mouth and the jawline, but the nose is a little different. But we're also working in a 2D sketch, right? This is someone who's getting secondhand information from an eyewitness.
Yeah.
So they're already
Who's
they're
probably
in a
been shot in the
traumatic-
face.
Probably traumatic situation that they've been through. So
It is shockingly similar.
It's
But he has
really
like
the
a
same
terse,
person.
like tense mouth.
And from far away, the nose doesn't even look like that intense, like intensely different. So not just that they look similarly to the sketch, because I don't want to put a lot of validity in a police sketch. They're insane, especially in the 70s. I don't trust that at all. But there's some other things that happened. He was living less than 5 miles away from the first murder. And I don't know if you know this. And we're going to pretend, not even pretend, but we're going to just go with the fact that they think that the 5 set of murders are the murders that happened. The 5 incidents that happened. We're not going to necessarily count Sherry Jo Bates, right?
Right.
So
There's
if
a
we're
lot that you could count depending on, who
the
you
situation,
ask.
for sure. In this case, we're just going to take those incidents to account. So meaning that Betty Jo and David were the first to be murdered by the Zodiac. This person lived less than 5 miles away.
Wow.
So if you're doing a crime, I feel
But
like
he did drive in.
it was a drive.
Okay.
Yeah, but he would have been, if you are going to do something awful for the first time, I'm sorry to say this, but you're going to go close to home because you are familiar with that.
And
You
how to
know
get in and out without...
Yeah.
right?
being
You know
noticed.
what's
Can't
going
be
on.
comfortable somewhere that you don't know. You wouldn't be comfortable enough to commit a crime, I would think.
I mean, in this case, I'm thinking he had been arrested in Contra Costa, California, in 1965, meaning he had fingerprints booked, right? They say that he was arrested because he was a writer and he wanted to write about how it was to be like put through the jail system, right? To be booked and gone through this whole situation, which is why we have a mugshot. He didn't sign his name to like a ticket citation or something. Something happened, so it was like a really small infarction. He wasn't going to go to prison or anything. He was just going to go to jail. So he was booked in there. Unfortunately, by the time he actually became a suspect in the Zodiac case, those records had been like literally set on fire.
That happened a lot.
Yeah, so either it was accidental fires, it was a flood in the basement that lost the whatever things,
Whoa.
but in this situation it was literally just timed out and his case was so small that they had just gotten rid of his records.
He got shredded.
Yeah, so then they needed a
Jeez.
warrant to get his DNA or his fingerprints, even though he had been to prison or jail. He was super anti-police, but also pro-violence. So he was not someone we wanted to be hanging around with, and not maybe someone who was like in our good graces. January 1969, he had been writing for the Good Times and had written a couple of articles that mirrored pretty much exactly what the Zodiac had been doing. In different words and different situations, but like the main theme was pretty much the same. So that's something that they say is shitty against him. This is what seals it to me, though. If you remember, the Zodiac had called 911 in the second murder with Darlene and Mike. He had called and said, "Hey,
I just killed these people.
they're super dead over there. You might want to go check that out." The 911 operator, Nancy Slover, had taken the call and been like, "That's weird." And later on had recognized the voice and identified Richard Guy Kowalski
Wow.
as the person that she heard on the phone. They have some video or some audio clips of her saying that that's who she thinks it is on ZodiacKiller.com. So if you want to listen to her saying, like, for sure that's it. You can also listen to Richard's voice talking about how easy it is to do code. He was like, yeah, I can do code so easy. You throw some in that don't mean anything, and then you throw some in that do mean something, and then you have code. Here's the craziest fucking thing. One of the ciphers, you're going to blow your mind right now. One of the first ciphers that were ever sent to the San Francisco Chronicle, you can't see this, but it's right here on page 50 of the Zodiac. Don't buy this.
Just maybe look it up online.
On the fourth line down, fourth word in, it spells Geik. Do you see that on there? Fourth line in, fourth letter in. Isn't that
Which is his
fucking
GYKE.
wild?
his nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, even in his letter that came with the ciphers, my name is in there.
Interesting.
Tell
Like,
me it's not
just-
fucking Richard.
Just his fucking name. Just
Yeah,
his
his
name.
name. His full name. No decoding needed. The
Ego,
code
right?
around
The
it
ego
meant
to
nothing.
think-
Yeah.
The inside part that was not coded is what meant something. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And which is what makes sense why the CIA and the FBI can't fucking crack
Hidden
the
in
code.
plain sight.
Thank you.
Yep.
It wasn't meant to be coded. It was meant to be a throwaway situation, which is also kind of why I think that other codes haven't been broken because they're not codes. Has nothing to do with the
just
situation.
random.
It's supposed to be a
garbled.
time
Yeah.
waster so that he can
Interesting.
just do whatever the fuck he wants. He's smarter than everyone else when he's really not that smart at all, in my opinion.
Like you were saying, like incel energy, there's definitely
sure.
like a I'm so much smarter than everyone.
Right.
And some of that stuff that's like elementary school, Boy Scout, code breaking level stuff. I don't know.
Even in that one email that was talking about, you're not paying attention. You're not the garbage that you're talking
He's
about.
so scorned, yeah.
He's not using like super elevated words.
Sure. Yeah.
You know
it's
what I
plain.
mean?
It's
It's
pretty
like
plain.
what a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
kid might think
Yeah.
adults talk to each other. My lawyer is going to be all over this. How dare you?
Right.
You can tell there's like a
Immaturity
stilted-
to it, yeah.
Yeah, he has the vocabulary and sort of maturity of like a 12-year-old, but a really smart 12-year-old
Who's been conked on the head?
who's got conked on the head maybe one too many times.
Yeah. The last part of this, which I think really is super interesting, Guy Kowalski's cousin lived on Washington Street. So that last murder that we talked about, which was the cab driver, I think his name was also Richard.
I don't remember.
The cab driver had been shot in the back of the head. On that same street that he was shot, Richard's cousin lived in those houses, right in that same area.
So
and
he
it was
could have been in the
her-
vicinity.
And it was her birthday, October 11th, the day that that man was murdered. How easy is it to murder someone, clean it all up, slip into your cousin's birthday, where I'm sure there's plenty of people in there. They're not going to pay
There's
attention
your
to you
alibi.
Yep.
to go into the birthday party. And then you can literally watch them searching the area. It's him. But this
Seems
guy
like
is
it.
the killer.
So is this guy still alive?
No, he died in 2004 of cancer. Most of these people, I think, are all pretty much
died.
dead. But it still is interesting. It might not be any of these people, right? Because let's think about the Golden State Killer case. We did not know that motherfucker's name, right?
Until
We
a
had-
major break.
Until the familial DNA was tested and it was matched down the line to him. He was not even someone who was on
the
the
radar.
suspect list.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Other than, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name now. I know it feels so bad. McNamara. What's her first name? You don't know.
Jeanette.
No. I'm going to look it up really quick while we're talking.
I can only think of his.
Kelly? Is that Kelly McNamara?
That sounds right.
Golden. Sorry, I'm looking. Michelle. Michelle
like Kelly.
McNamara had been saying that it was someone who was in authority, someone who was in power. And unfortunately, she passed before they were able to link his DNA. But also, she's the reason why they were even testing familial DNA. She was like, please, we have to do this. I'm pretty sure this guy has something to do with it. I don't know why, but it's happening. In this case, I kind of feel like it might be the same situation where we've never heard of this person a day in our lives. He's not any of this. It's definitely not Alan. We know it's not fucking him. He's been ruled out time and time and time and time
Yeah.
again. Especially if they've recently got a DNA profile, they would have matched it to whatever DNA they have on file, and they have his. He died randomly in the basement. Sorry, you have something to say.
I wanted to say, saying it's true that he's been ruled out many, many times, time and time again, and like for really good reasons. But that forgets the things that really make it seem like it was him. Also,
Which
the
is?
things that are Okay, I hate to mention the watch, but the watch is weird. That's weird. The way it's mentioned in the movie is that word and that symbol have only ever been linked together in that watch brand. Like you said, it was just the logo for some brand of watch back
Which
then.
they got from a historical context, though. That
Well,
had
you have
existed
to-
beful the watch existed.
It's a weird coincidence.
Well, you
Some
have to
people
remember,
might
though,
see
in that
that.
era, everybody had a watch.
Everyone had a
Like,
watch.
that was not an abnormal thing, and especially as a gift, it was a nice gift that you would give your child for, graduation or, whatever. And I
Just watches being more common. That makes sense. Like when she brought up Timex and you knew that brand.
Yeah.
No one ever has heard of the Zodiac brand of watch. And the fact that their logo was that crosshair thing. I know what you're saying.
well, it
that
could
it
have
was
been a California thing too, though, because there's
maybe they just sold that brand in the mall there.
Right.
Sure. But still, that's not the best example. There are other things. I remember...
Yeah, but don't you feel like if his palm? I mean, the palm thing is kind of that's kind of a
Significant.
thing.
It's
Your
definitely
palm doesn't look
significant.
anything like my palm.
Is it
Again,
even
this is
possible for
all-
him to have a
Individual
to
palm
fake
print?
that? Is that
No.
to wear some sort of glove that wouldn't
You
have even
also
been
have to
feasible
think
back
about your mindset as a murderer in the 70s. You are
60s.
not 60s. You are not thinking DNA.
Yeah.
You are not
That's true.
thinking
Fingerprints.
maybe you're thinking fingerprints, maybe, but you're not thinking much beyond that, which is hard for me to believe that the Zodiac is such an advanced, insane killer who, was able to have somebody else lick his stamps. I think he's really dumb, and it's an accident that this has gone unsolved because we're adding so much value to his process, right? Like at the end of the day, Arthur Lee Allen was convicted and caught for pedophilia. If he cannot hold that together,
That's what he's guilty of.
Yes.
that's what he's guilty of. That's what he's been to prison for. If he can't keep that under wraps, if he can't hide that, there is no way in my heart that he could have hidden
That's a really good point.
multiple actual gunshot murders. And
It wasn't
this is
just one-offs.
and this is all assuming that all of these things are connected as one thing, which I don't believe it is. I'm sorry, I don't think the murderer to the one-off shooting is the same as the murderer who was at the first killing. And I honestly don't even believe that the second person was the same as the first person. I think it was a convenient way to say that I can kill whoever I want. We see this in the Boston Strangler.
Yeah.
We know for a fact that it was multiple killers and how easy it is for them to just kind of bungle it all together because they don't have to do anything after that.
So you're saying that the person who wrote the ciphers may or may not have killed one or all of them, but took advantage of all of the deaths by making the ciphers.
In my mind, also now knowing that maybe Darlene wasn't being as stalked as severely as she was, even if she was being stalked, it may or may not have been her stalker that killed her.
She
It
may
could
have
have been
felt
just been an
that
accident.
she was.
She
Who
could
knows?
whatever. I don't know. I do know that it could have been a police officer. Let's have a situation. You're at a Lover's Lane area. Someone comes up to you and has lights of any kind, whether they're a real police officer or not, you automatically assign authority to that person because they are invading your space, you don't know who they are, and they have lights of some kind. He probably came up with a badge or a gun or whatever and had set the authority to, I know what I'm doing and you don't know what you're doing, so you need to follow what I say in whatever capacity that is.
You've even established you don't have to flash that official of a badge.
It could be Disneyland.
You can give off authority being
I don't know
5'3".
what she was.
Just
Right.
speak to me a little bit extra loud that seems necessary for the situation, and I'm probably going to be a little intimidated and
Yeah.
listen.
Okay, but my only thing
100%.
about that is if he is a cop.
And he knew what happened in the first case with Betty Lou.
Right, but my saying is if he's coming up and he's flashing a badge and he's, you do what I say, why isn't Mike Magoo saying this guy, even if he just says this guy was a cop, or he pretended to be a cop, or he flashed a badge of some kind, he could have been the mall security. Do you see what I'm saying?
I
you
don't
have
wanna-
eyewitnesses that
No.
didn't
It's
say that.
hard. And I don't want to diminish his experience because,
But shot in the face, you might have forgot the badge.
I mean, come on. Not
Or it
even
got
just forgot
lost.
the badge, but just
The fallibility of
is
memory.
so
it just went
afraid.
away.
Well, that's
and
true.
is also so afraid that
That
they
he
will
might come back.
be killed.
Yeah, come back and
now.
get you.
That you don't even know that you've changed your memory. Right?
That's true.
Like even in
Okay.
a situation when you're very
You
young and you've
overrode it. That save is
and you've
gone.
been abused, like not in a random situation, but you've been abused. People can lock those memories away and transform them into something that's more palatable so that they can survive a day-to-day life and not have to continuously relive truly some of the most traumatic things that have ever happened to human beings. Like,
Well, I
on
think
the
that can
earth.
happen regardless. You can fantasize anything.
Yes, and make it something that's palatable for you
think
to
of
imagine.
who could possibly have beat that out of him. I mean, you know who would really hate him saying that it was a cop?
Other cops,
Cops.
literally.
But in
makes sense for that to go away.
1921 or 2021, they do the testing. Even if it was a cop at this point, all these years later, nobody's protecting this
I know,
guy
but they
anymore.
didn't have the Golden State Killer's DNA on file from being a cop. They had to get his DNA. They got that from going through familial DNA,
I see
meaning
what you're saying.
through mitochondrial DNA, the mother's DNA, they were able to link it to him through other people's shit. They didn't have his DNA on file to then to go against it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? They don't have this person's DNA somewhere in a stored database.
So you're thinking that the 2021 database or 2021 DNA that they're saying is no way could be the actual killer, could be his
It probably
sister
came from an
or his neighbor who he was stealing the stamps from.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be him himself. It could just have been a family member,
cousin
and
or
it's,
whatever.
It's close enough to him.
Ooh, what if it was the
genetically.
cousin?
could have been the cousin.
that he was stealing stamps from.
Yeah.
Because that was actually a thing. We would reuse our stamps all the time when I was young.
No.
It's apparently against the law now. There's a big sign at the post office.
You know what else is against
If they
the
had
law?
to put a sign up, then
Putting your trash into someone else's trash.
Shut up, really?
Yeah, you cannot illegally dump someone else's trash in your trash, and I'm pretty sure that's because of the Unabomber.
oh wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah, okay,
could
but for real though, when I
accidentally
lived in New
eliminate.
York, I lived in this really tiny like college apartment for literally 3 seconds. It was someone else's apartment, not mine, and I had just thrown trash into a dumpster that was out back, thinking like it's a
No big
normal
deal.
dumpster. This motherfucker ran out of his store, screaming at me, "You cannot throw your trash in my dumpster." Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, "Whoa, bro! I literally did not know.
It's
I don't
just
even
some
own this
tissues.
apartment." Like.
Like it was a severed head.
Yes. So yeah, you can't dump random things in other people's things, and you
Interesting.
can't put random stuff in a
well,
mailboxes.
we know back in the 60s and 70s, it's all willy-nilly. No one cared about
That's
anything.
true.
Straight, if you wanted to. Okay, oh gosh, I'm sorry. You were about to do it.
I was gonna ask Sierra if she thought it was Richard Guy Kowalski.
Oh.
It's definitely Geig.
I
Thank
I
you.
tend to believe it too.
I know, right?
I think that the cipher part is
That's
pretty.
a tough one.
It's pretty damning to knowing that he's got this ego, right? Knowing that he's a bit of a
He would do
narcissist to throw his own name in there. Plus, he had already admitted that his name was in one of them. Didn't say which one though, right?
No.
So it's
did
there
not.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I know, right? What were you about to say?
I wanted to say I hate that all the information I have on this is from the movie. But that being said, the movie paints the picture. Maybe there is no one answer. It leads you to believe like trying to go down this rabbit hole is pointless. He got away. It's very likely that there's one or multiple copycats. Like there's a whole section in the movie where he's pointing out that all the stuff he's taking credit for in his letters was stuff that was in the paper, and that the cops like volunteered, knowing that there's certain things, if he mentions these things about these crime scenes, then we know he actually had firsthand knowledge, was likely the perpetrator.
Unless he was on scene.
Right, or yes,
Ooh,
yes.
what if he was like an ambulance guy or something?
Yeah.
Some sort, like you're saying, maybe he was a cop, someone with inside knowledge, like that would tip him off how to avoid the cops, or even being an ambulance driver, still sort of a sick, like voyeuristic thing. Anyway, the idea that what if there's no one right answer? What if it's, I don't know.
Even if it's 1,000
Not
people,
just for the
they
murders
can literally
themselves.
figure it out.
The ciphers and the murders. I know that there is an answer.
Yeah.
In,
And there's
in the
DNA and
reality.
evidence that is aside from the letters.
DNA, I don't love
No,
DNA.
we have to love it. But
I
it's the
don't- I
only
don't
thing
know
we
if I love
have.
it. Because what if you don't know where that DNA is coming from? You don't know who that came from or when.
Okay, but rudimentary DNA. I'm not talking about touch DNA because there are cases where this cab driver was literally accused. Oh, there's multiple cases where people were accused of crimes they for sure did not commit, but their DNA did show up in the crime scene. There's the one case where this woman who had been sexually assaulted and murdered on a beach, the person doing the DNA testing didn't wear gloves.
Came up positive.
So his DNA was the one that was testing for her fucking murder, and he
Yeah.
literally killed himself.
Wow.
Because and then that makes him look guiltier, but it was because he
In some
couldn't.
people's eyes,
he
yeah.
couldn't live with thinking
That he
people
ruined the
thinking that he
sample.
had raped and killed a teenage girl. He couldn't live like that, so that's why he unalived himself. But his DNA had nothing to do with that murder. It was an
just dumb.
accident.
It makes me think it's like almost an extension of the fibers and stuff that were all the
I know,
rage not that
I
long
know,
ago.
I
Like
know.
there's so many points of failure. Like you're just saying, the person doing the testing could have contributed that sample. It could have come from anywhere. There's too many points of failure.
Contact,
Not to get rid of DNA completely. Obviously, that's a great
There
resource.
has to be a better way to collect like reliable
It's like knowing
DNA,
where to
yeah.
swab and stuff.
Yeah.
And how to collect these samples.
Well, in the 70s, they just really were probably picking up with raw hands and things.
Well, sure, because they didn't even know that you could get DNA.
I know,
that
that's
was
why
like
the
not a
Golden State
thing.
Killer was sperming all around. Because he was like, there's no way. It's not even on the radar for you to think about, even though he was a cop. Anyways, hey, listen, if you're on YouTube, you should write in our little comments and say, I think hoo-ha-he-hoo is the Zodiac Killer. And let's speculate wildly, because I think it's absolutely ridiculous and
And he's
crazy.
probably dead.
Super probably maybe dead. Who knows? My granny's still alive. They could be alive. We don't know. In the 70s.
It is not Granny.
It's not
Too
Granny.
old
I really
to,
want her to be.
to prosecute.
Too old. No,
there's
it's never too old.
There's
No.
Golden State Killer came in a wheelchair and I said, lock his ass
Lock his
up.
ass up. I agree. Don't get me wrong.
But you know what I want to ask? Why did you stop? All of a sudden, just
That's fair.
bing, bang, boom, I'm
Just
done.
retired
I
like
don't want
any
to do it
other job.
anymore.
He could have moved on to a different area and we would have no idea.
Just architecture.
Yeah, but
No, I'm saying he can move to a different state.
but even if he did, he's busy bragging about it. There's no way if he
Yeah.
moved to Arkansas
New
that
York.
he's not, telling everybody, hello.
Yeah.
I did
Now I live in
it.
Arkansas.
Now I live in Arkansas. Well,
That's a fair
anyways, I'm
point.
so interested to know what you think. Have you loved these episodes? How much do you love my mom? Because I love her so much. You've been such a wonderful guest. I love you.
Aw,
Yeah.
thanks. This is
I
fun.
love you.
Great guess.
Great episode, great guests, great times, great podcast studio. Thank you so much to this space for allowing us to come back for another week. What a goddamn freaking dream unicycle.
It's beautiful in here.
It's so
It
gorgeous,
really
right?
is.
yeah.
So please follow us on YouTube. That's not good. At YouTube, B7H54321.
Yeah, we got to work on that.
I don't think that's it. That's not how you do it.
Follow us on Instagram. That's not good. At Instagram. And send us your emails, your hometowns. I really need to know. I need to know what your grandma's done. I need to know what Aunt Cheryl's done.
make you a bookmark.
Hand make a bookmark. Don't you want that? That's not good pod at gmail.com. And give us a 5-star review on all of the places you do that. Apple, Spotify, others. We would love to see you say stuff about us. And wow, if you want to know more,
Don't buy the book.
don't
No.
buy the book. Go
Do
online.
watch the movie.
Okay.
I highly recommend the movie.
Let's do that.
I'm going to get them to watch the movie, and then they'll tell you next week, like,
Watch
watch
the
that
movie.
fucking movie.
Watch
That's a
that
good
fucking
ass
movie.
movie.
All right. We love you guys so much. Bye.
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 Bye.